Fat loss is simple. You just don't have a plan that you actually follow. Now, if it really came down to it, I'm sure that you could tell me exactly what you need to do to lose fat, to maintain a healthy body composition, and live the life that you want to. The problem is that people only go that far and don't lay out a plan to actually enact these changes. Fat loss isn't complicated, but that doesn't mean it's easy. So to make sure that you are going to win or to lose the fat and keep it off, you need to have a plan to follow. And today, that's exactly what I want to give you. A step-by-step plan on how you can successfully lose the fat that you want to and keep it off. Now, before I dive into the steps, I do want to just preface this by saying whenever I refer to foods in this video, I am referring to whole natural foods. These are things that you can find in nature, animal products, plants, that kind of thing. If you want to learn more about those things in specific, I will link a video that I just recently did talking all about different kinds of whole natural foods and processed foods and what the difference is. So check that out below if you're unfamiliar, then you can circle back and watch this video. Now, your plan all starts with looking at how frequently you eat throughout the day. And not just your meals, but your snacks, right? So we want to consider how often am I actually eating in the day on a regular basis, whether that's 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. It doesn't matter. What I want you to do is write that number down because we're going to come back to it in just a minute. But it is important that you pick a number that you feel like you're going to be able to consistently follow for the remainder of your diet and just nutrition lifespan. Now, once you have that number written down, the next thing that we need to look into is how much protein do you need to eat to lose fat, maintain muscle, and live optimally. First, we need to calculate your daily total of protein. This one's super easy. You're just going to aim for your target body weight in grams of protein daily. Meaning, if I want to weigh 160 pounds, my daily protein goal is 160 grams. So write that number down. Next, we're going to divide our daily protein goal, so in this case, 160, by the number of meals that we wrote down just a second ago. Again, I'm going to use 4 for easy math, which equals 40. Now I know that per meal, I need to aim for about 40 grams of protein. This is super important because this is where our plan really starts to come together and we take all the guesswork out of our nutrition. Once I have that number, 40 grams of protein per meal, cool. How do I get that? Now what I want you to do is write out a list of all your favorite protein foods. Now, for protein foods, if you're not really familiar, you might need to do a little bit of research. Again, my previous video is going to be super helpful, but more often than not, these are going to be animal products. So looking at that, writing out the list. What do I commonly eat? Ground beef, eggs, salmon, chicken, turkey, like those kind of foods. Make a list of that. Once you've completed your list of protein foods, I want you to go on Google or use an app like MyFitnessPal and figure out how much of each one of those foods you need to eat to hit your protein per meal goal. Again, mine was 40. So to hit 40 grams of protein per meal, I'm going to need, for instance, let's say 6 ounces of chicken. I don't know if that's actually correct. That's just a number I threw off the top of my head. But now I know for each one of those, if I want to hit my 40 grams of protein per meal, I know exactly how much of each one of these foods that I need to eat. And this is where we start our plan. This is where we start building out our grocery lists and also what our meals are going to revolve around. So make sure that you go through this process. If you need to pause the video, take your time, but go through, lay out what is my daily protein requirement? What is my meal protein requirement? What are my foods that I'm going to get that from? How much of each food do I need to get there? Once you've established those numbers, then we can move on to the next step. Now this next step, much easier. It involves literally zero math. All I want you to do is make a note, and you can actually write out a list if you want, but make a note to buy a wide variety of fresh and or frozen vegetables. For me personally, I tend to get like a couple different bags of mixed frozen vegetables because it's just much easier for me. I don't like to sit there and prepare all my vegetables all the time. I'd much rather just be able to warm them up. But if you want to do fresh, you can do that too. The important thing is that we're getting a variety here. You don't need to go overboard. We don't need to get 100 different things, but try to have a good handful of different colors of vegetables on your list or in your cart when you go to the grocery store. The next step, we want to figure out our starchy carbs. Now, starchy carbs are really kind of like your energy source. They're their fuel source for you. So I don't need them all the time, and really I like to center them around my workouts. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But some ideas for starchy carbs would be potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa, beans, rice, oats, or less fibrous fruits. These are all really good foods to give us a little bit of fuel, but also not go crazy on the calories. This is where most people go wrong with their carbohydrates. They think carbohydrates, they're doing pastas, breads, things that are really easy to overeat. And while there is a time and a place for those, for the vast majority of the meals that I eat, I want to focus on those carb sources that I just listed out. All right, and if you're not thinking it already, I do want to address kind of the elephant in the room, flavor, right? We want to make sure that these dishes are flavorful. We want to be able to add variety to them. And the way that you're going to do that is going with different seasonings and low calorie sauces. Some of my favorite sauces are going to be different hot sauces, salsas, things like that. But you can find some lower calorie sauces at most grocery stores as well. Be careful. Sauces can really add up quickly, even when they're marketed as low calorie. The serving sizes can add up really fast. So you do want to keep a close eye on that. But seasonings, sauces, and then even some oils like avocado or olive oil, again, you just want to be careful because the calories do add up. You would be really surprised at how many different dishes you can make with just a small handful of protein sources, a mixture of veggies, a couple starches, and some different seasonings and sauces. And you go through and use these ingredients, pair them differently week over week, things like that, and you get a lot of variety. Now, make sure that you are sticking to these foods in the grocery store. This is really important. We are not adding anything else to our cart because if it's in the cart, then it makes it to your house, then it makes it into your stomach. So stick to these foods. You don't always have to, but I would say that the safe bet, if you really want to be successful with this, is that these are really the only foods you store at home. And if you want something else, you go out, you prepare it, and you eat it. You don't keep it in the house. So now we've created our shopping list. We've gone out, we've bought the groceries. How do I structure my meals? This is really easy. You already have everything that you need. So it's protein. You know the portion of each one that you need. So in each meal, you're going to have the portion we figured out at the beginning of this video. You're going to fill your plate with a different mixture of veggies. And then around workouts and or activities, so before and after, you're going to include some starchy carbohydrates. We still want that protein, we still want those veggies, but now we're going to include a little bit of starch to just fuel our workout and our activity and then replenish from it. And it's that simple. I just rinse and repeat that, mixing the different sources of protein, the different vegetables, the different starches, different seasonings, sauces, mix and repeat. Now, good practice here is also taking a look at what your week's going to look like and being very realistic about when will I have time to prepare these meals fresh versus when do I need to have them prepared ahead of time. I would really recommend that you look at your week and then meal prep for when you're going to be at work or when you're going to be busy, because the last thing you want is to get into a situation where you don't have time to cook, you don't feel like you have the ingredients you need to make something on the fly, so then you go out and you get something that does not work towards your goals. So plan your week out, know when you need to meal prep and have things prepared ahead of time, know when you're going to be able to cook something at the time of. Outside of that, the only other couple quick notes: one, prioritize water for your fluids. We want to try to avoid fluids that contain calories because those just add up very quickly. So prioritize water intake over everything else. And then also when to use protein supplementation or like packaged health foods. These, I would say, are kind of good to have on hand as a backup plan. Again, if I don't have a meal prepared or I need to do something on the fly, this is when I recommend using your protein supplements or your prepackaged health foods that you can just warm up. But in most cases, I want you to follow the list that you made, make meals yourself, whether you're prepping them ahead of time or at the time of. And if you stick to this diet recommendation or this list of foods that you created, I can guarantee you that you will see the fat loss and you will be able to keep it off. Now, if you have any questions or need any help designing this grocery list for yourself or sticking to the plan, please let me know. You can shoot me a message or put a comment below. I'm more than happy to help, and have a great week, everybody.